Hello, my fellow humans. So we have now reached the fourth in my series of brain glitches that I've been showing you, and let's just get into it.
I'm sorry, don't leave me. I want you here with me. I know that your love is gone. I can't breathe, I'm so weak. I know this isn't easy. Don't tell me that your love is gone. That your love is gone.
Okay, so I'm not going to even ask you to guess, but I'm going to tell you that your brain can tell the future. Okay, no, not really. But basically, we are now coming to our fourth interesting thing about the brain, which kind of makes it a glitch, but not really. It's called predictive processing. Basically, our brain can't be bothered to stress itself with unnecessary things. So it is trying to figure out what might happen so that it can save time in preparing for it because it already has an idea of what might happen. So for example, in these previous videos, you were seeing people almost reflexively do things without realizing they're doing it. So that's one part of the brain, but also the predictive processing part of the brain is kind of predicting what might happen and then getting the body to respond to it faster. The interesting thing about it is that for the brain to be able to do that, it needs to think of what might happen in the future so that it can prepare itself and respond accordingly. For example, the first one, you could see the father take their child off a motorcycle just before it got hit. That's because his brain was able to see that at the speed that car is coming, the direction it's going, it is unlikely that he'll be able to stop in time. So he moves the child off the motorcycle to protect the child from being hit. Now, the interesting thing about this is that he was able to figure out his child might get hit because he's probably driven or he's seen cars enough in his life to know the typical patterns of behavior, to know the typical patterns of direction and speed, to be able to quickly figure whether the child was actually in danger. Let's see more examples. So you may have seen some of these videos circulating online where people are doing these amazing things. You're just like, wow, how do they do that? One of the things about predictive processing is that with repetitive practice, you're actually building that predictive processing, let's say, reservoir of information. So for example, when you're playing sport or you're playing something that is really heavily skill based, you're actually training your brain to be able to interpret or predict what might happen next. So when you're playing basketball, for example, practicing helps your brain learn how to be able to maneuver based on previous experience. So the reason this person is able to duck and dive is because they've seen it done before enough times to know how to maneuver the ball in the process and to maneuver around people. So essentially what you're doing when you're practicing your sport in whichever field or whatever you're doing, you're actually building that reservoir of information for your brain to work with. So when you're being told to practice, it's for a reason. It's not just about building the muscle, but also training your brain or building your information centers of your brain so that you're able to predict how to manage and move and do whatever you need to in whichever sport you're in to be able to excel. Predictive processing can also affect how we feel about things. It's also why at times people may find themselves getting anxious as they're going towards an interview, for example. You may be sitting in the car driving to this interview, which is maybe going to determine the rest of your life, and your predictive processing reservoir from previous experiences telling you that this is something that may go very wrong, or not even thinking about the worst case scenario, even just the discomfort of someone asking you questions that would determine your fate, essentially. And the predictive processing reservoir is telling you that from previous experience, this has not gone well. Of course, this reservoir isn't necessarily always right, but it is our previous experiences determine how we'll perceive our future experiences. Before we proceed, a word from our sponsors. So, I am a clinical coach. I help people who are going through a transition in their lives, or who are trying to achieve things in their lives, or are going through a transition and they feel that they're struggling, whether they have some anxiety or they feel like they have depressive moods, if they have insomnia, maybe some phobias, maybe they have, whether they're trying to break an unhelpful habit, whether you're feeling just stuck and you maybe want to have some renewed sense of direction, I can help you with that. You can go to my link below in the description to get to my page. It also has more about my credentials in there as well. Feel free to reach out to me. Don't go through it alone. Whether you're overthinking it, maybe you're not thinking about it enough, maybe you just need some outside perspective and you need someone to just bring some things to your attention that might help you to move over the hump that you're struggling to get past. Reach out to me and we can go through this together. In this next one, I have to kind of do a little bit of a warning to anyone who is, let's just say, easily unnerved. It's not very bad. It's just I'm letting you know that if you don't want to be easily unnerved, I'm letting you know so that you don't get unnerved too much.
Father! Hey! Mình làm gì đi mua?
I just waiting, Father. You go to the bathroom too long. You okay?
Trời ơi, tao yếu tim mày làm mày.
Mom, you want to go to eat?
What did you do đi?
Baby, are we going?
Oh my god, babe!
What happened? I was gonna ask if we're going to the store today.
What are you doing on the floor?
Are we gonna?
Babe,
Are we going to the store soon?
what are you doing?
I was just wondering if we're gonna go to Target again.
Sure, why are you laying on the floor?
I just wanted to ask. Are we going to the store tomorrow? I'm just asking if we're going to the store. Can I get
So yes, jump scares. Now, just to understand how this happens, just think about it. These people have walked through the corridors or passages so many times that it's become almost automatic. They're not even looking or seeing anything. They're just walking as they usually do every day. So their pattern has been set. Predictive processing says, you walk down the passage, you turn that way, you go to the bathroom, the kitchen, whatever. This is easy. No stress, no worry. So the predictive processing reservoir is sorted in that way. And then a head on the floor is talking to you. That just breaks the reservoir. The reservoir is like, what, wait, why, what, you know? So this is probably going to work, probably like every time, for the first timers, because now the predictive processing for these individuals has to be adjusted. Let's just call it adjusted. Because this affected them so much, that reservoir now has to account for the possibility that their person or any person might be on the floor for some random reason.
No, no, no! 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 No, no,
That one was a little bit more for the men. Now, I'm sure, because I'm not a guy, so I'm going to say I'm sure that when men were watching that, they were thinking, ooh, because they were, from experience, predictively processing that must have been painful. They weren't the ones experiencing it, but their brains, from reservoir of experience, was probably able to see that and think, yeah, that must have, ooh, especially in that situation, she's scared, she's not even knowing what she's doing, and she's just grabbing anything. So men may have been able to empathize with that guy more because they understood where he was coming from. And it was from that reservoir of experience that they were able to acknowledge what he was going through in that moment. So predictive processing isn't only about what you see, it could also be about what you feel. So you could predictively believe that something can be so. Someone who's going to get an injection can believe that it's going to be so, either from their own experience or from what they see others experience. Have you ever gone through something in your life where you thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be so painful, I am never going to get through this, it looks so bad, and then when you go through it, it's not that bad? You see this a lot in kids. They expect something to be very terrible, and then when they go through it, it's like, oh, okay, it's not that bad. Some kids. Some still would want to dramatize. Pain is also part of the predictive processing part of the brain to help us manage the expectation of what we're going to go through. But of course, that reservoir isn't necessarily 100%. It may be a bit too much, it may be too little, and it may be wrong. In the end, all predictive processing is a guesstimation of what might happen. Even though you may be predicting the future a bit, it's really based on previous experience. So if your previous experiences have not been very good, then your reservoir is not going to be a true reflection of what's going to happen, so much as this is most likely what's going to happen based on my experience. If you're liking my videos, please like them. Please remember to subscribe, and please remember to share with others so that they can enjoy the glitches of the brain. Let me know if this video resonates with you, and let me know if you have anything to comment about it, because I am very curious to hear if you have experienced some of these things before. So for the next one, again, I have to give a warning for those who may feel that they don't want to get flustered. To summarize, predictive processing is your brain's way of saving yourself stress and saving yourself unnecessary energy expenditure by creating a reservoir of information so that it can predict what might happen in certain situations. It helps you to be able to predict what might happen so that it doesn't have to keep creating new reflexes and responses to situations that have already happened many, many times before. Anything that has required repetitive skill building or repetitive activities, the brain creates a reservoir, helping the brain to save energy so that it doesn't have to keep responding as if something is new information and using a lot of energy to respond to that same situation renewed as if it's never happened before. So even though it may seem like the brain is able to predict the future, really it's just a guesstimation of what might happen based on previous experience. And of course that means it may be wrong. So this predictive processing is essentially the sum of one's own experiences. Essentially, even though this is a very cool, amazing part of the brain's ability, it still could be incorrect in its prediction. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I thought it was a really awesome one. I always do. But besides that, I hope you had a good time. Let me know if you have any questions or suggestions for any future ones. In the meantime, bye-bye.